Well, today's episode is going to be a very interesting episode. As you know, NXT UK is done. As you know, there'll be the NXT Europe. We don't know when will that launch until 2023. But however, that doesn't mean that I'm going to not review Impact Wrestling, which that is something I am going to do. But however, I'm going to review the last three events by Ganbare Pro that took place on the 21st, 27th August, and of course the much recently on September 3rd. But also we're going to be reviewing Day 12 of Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix. As you know, we're only less than a month away from finishing up this tournament, but the obvious question does remain, who most likely can get to the finals? As you know, we have Azuki is in the lead in the Blue Star block, but apparently we got two people who are most likely to catch up. But the Red Star, well, we have a couple of ties. That's going to be a very interesting development. So, but also, we got some news updates. We definitely got to share what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with Ganbare Pro. This is one of 3 shows that took place starting from August 21st, and I believe this one's called Sangaria, I think. Sangaria 2022. This took place on the 21st of August. I forgot the name of the venue. But this one had some interesting matches. First match, we have intergender tag match. We got Arikuze teaming up with Mao from 37 Kamina of DDT to take on Yuri and Onru from Wrestling of Darkness, or 666, or whatever they call that dark dude, who also throws ectoplasma. Now, these two have teamed up in the past. Now, you probably say, looks more like Onru is going to do that because he has that trick. Well, apparently it misfired. He actually ectoplasma Yuri by accident, but it did give Mao and Harukaze the chance to spear both of them. But however, it was Harukaze and Yuri who were the legal contenders inside the ring. So she pinned her. 1, 2, 3. It was over. I'm sure Onru felt bad that he ectoplasmed her, but of course she always forgives him for everything. Next up, we got women Yoshi wrestling taking place. We got Yoshiko Hasegawa teaming up with, of course, someone you guys know from Tokyo Pro, Nao Kakuta versus Yuna Manaze and Moeka Haruhi. Now, somebody may question right now, wait a minute, is it Nao Kakuta with Tokyo Pro Wrestling? Well, let's make that very clear before I proceed with the match. Nao Kakuta is not officially a member of the roster, but she is a freelancer. She's booked with them for every single time. But however, she has wrestled in Ganbare Pro from time to time. Reason behind that is if you guys know this or not, those who do, you probably know what I'm talking about. Those who don't, I'll explain. Yuna Manaze was her instructor, was now who trained her back when they were both in Actress Girls. So that would make sense. And of course, you guys know Yoshiko Hasegawa also came from Actress Girls, but she was a freelancer for about a year. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Yuna Manaze called Nao Kakuta to help her out with, of course, Yoshiko getting back into the ring. I say it was a good idea to have someone who's a bit more senior than Yoshiko Hasegawa, but I'm like, it's probably the good thing. Now, if you ask me this, we're going to see Nao Kakuta more often, depending if she's available or not. Because, you know, Ganbare Pro is mostly for independent and freelance wrestlers. You know, that has always been the case. But the match was pretty much okay, for example, because, you know, Nao Kakuta, she does have a bit more experience. And, of course, she's not afraid to throw down against her former mentor Yuna Manaze. But Yoshika Hasegawa is, how do I say, is still getting back on the learning curve. As you know, she took some time off. But however, even though she's learning and learning better than she ever was, even though she's been training under Yuna, she ended up in a leg lock and forced her to tap out. So it was a pretty good match, but I know Yoshika will get it back together once she gets more experience. Next up, we got singles competition. We got Shinichiro Tominaga taking on Hartley Jackson. Now, Hartley Jackson, he's this big dude. I'm assuming he's I don't know if he's an American or anything. He's one of the Gaijin wrestlers there. Man, the dude was like murderizing, of course, Tominaga out of the blue. But however, he does have a clear message for Yoshihiro Inamura, who is, well, at the time, he was the Spirit of Ganbare Pro Openweight Champion. So basically, he had his sights set on that title. So that kind of makes sense, but it was, of course, the submission move by Jackson to Tominaga to give him the win. Next up, we got Shota, who maybe this could be one of his few last matches, because if you guys have been aware, he has been wrestling recently here in the States. He made it clear that he wants to wrestle here in the States. He faced off against Kusuke Ishii, who has been appearing at Ganbare Pro every single time. But it was a pretty good match. But however, it was Ishii who picked up the win by doing some sort of rolly kick into the temple of Shota to give him the win. Now our next match is our main event, which is a 6-man tag match. Team number 1, we have Nobuhiro Shimatani, or as we know him in Glee, Check Shimatani, teaming up with Mizuki Wadaze and Kaoku Iwasaki. They take on Soma Tokoa and Shuichiro Katsumata, and of course the founder of Ganbare Pro, Ken Oka. Now, as you know, we always expect to see the sing and dance of Bad Communications, but it was cut short thanks to the opponents. So basically, they had to go through everything. However, of course, they're trying to take out Oka, who is in fact the founder. But however, it was Oka who picked up a very strong win against Nobuhiro Shimatani, giving him 1-2-3. So it ends with, of course, Ken Oka winning the match, which was pretty cool. Now, as you say, this is one of 3 of Ganbare Pro shows that I haven't seen yet. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, we're now we're continuing with more of Ganbare Pro with Tokorosawa Park Town Shopping Street Special. This one took place on the 27th of August. Now, this particular place is like a shopping mall, but in there's upper area of apartments. 2 of the corner sides, they were like flat top, so it was kind of weird. But the matches were okay, you know, nothing wrong about it. Now, our first match, we have Goto Ihashi teaming with Koko Iwasaki. Now, they face against Tyson Maiguchi and Yumehito Imanara. I have to say this was a very fun match because, you know, we have like a very unique setting. But however, the way this match proceeded, as you know, Inamari was the Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Champion. He picked up the win onto what's his name? Iwasaki. 1-2-3, it won. That's how it is. So I have to say, Inamari is trying to get himself back in the game, knowing that he has a big match coming up for his title. Next up, no, scratch that. It was Iwashi, the big Gota Iwashi. So that was pretty good. Now our next match is the Yoshi wrestlers taking the stage. We have Yoshiko Asagawa, Kakeru Sekiguchi, who you might have seen her in Atlas Girls, Alice Academy, every location, and of course Yuna Manaze taking on Harikuzi, Mooka Aruhi, and Cherry, a veteran in the wrestling business. I was surprised to see Cherry, but however, Cherry is a veteran. Um, she has more experience than other. But one thing that I did like about this match is how, this time you have Yuna teaming up with Yoshiko Hasegawa. Normally, I've seen Yuna team up with Yuri because Yuri is still on the learning curve. But this time she teams up with um, Hasegawa. But unfortunately, this match ended with, of course, with Aruhi picking up the win onto Hasegawa with a bit of a crossface type submission. Instead of like going on the ground, they just lifted her up and boom, tapped out. Next match we have Romance Dawn, Shota and what's his name? Soma Takoa taking on Shijinu Tamigawa, and of course, as Jin Ross would say, she's the kind of woman you don't see making biscuits, Aja Kong. So yes, it was a very unique, interesting match because, of course, Aja Kong, we know she's a legend. She knows it too. And I thought it was very interesting that she gets into herself up. But I think the best moment is Shota tried to find a way to, how do I say, not play dumb with her, but more like trying to, look, you don't need to fight me, just surrender and I win. I don't know if he was trying to do a I lie, I cheat, I steal type of maneuver, because if you guys know this or not, Shota's a big Eddie Guerrero fan. If you guys ever seen his gear, it's almost similar as Eddie Guerrero. But this time it did not help because he got back fist by Aja Kong 1, 2, 3. And I think he had no clue what just happened until it was over. So he had that coming. Now our next match, we have 6-man tag match. We have Shuichiro Katsumata, Kisuke Ishii, and Ken Oka taking on Sagat, Mizuki Watase, and the former and inaugural Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Champion, Tatsuhito Takaiwa. So it was very interesting to see this match. Now, however, I feel like Takaiwa is back with a vengeance. I'm not sure if he's trying to get back to reclaim his title that he lost, but this time he pulled off every stop. But in this case, it was Ishii that picked up the win with some sort of a kick when you roll down, do a roll up. He did that onto Mizuki Watase. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now the show was pretty good, I have to say, but even though it was outdoors, but it was real nice. I think I enjoyed it a lot. So I think that's pretty much it for this Ganbare show. Let's move on with the next one. I think it was called Punch Drunk Love. Okay, this is Ganbare Pro's latest event that took place on September 3rd, which was the 3rd? Yeah, on the 3rd of September. This was more Punch Drunk Love. Now, the main event is the Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Championship. Now, this match was set by Hartley Jackson, who demanded a shot of the title, which, of course, Inamari, he will not back down as the champion. He has been successful in maintaining the title, but nothing compared like the previous Takaiwa. But this is going to be a big challenge for him because his opponent, he's a bit of a monster. Now, our opening match, we have, of course, Yuki Kasaki taking on Kusuke Ishii. Now, I don't know who this guy is, Kasaki. I thought he was, I'm not sure if I've ever seen him before, but Ishii, I've seen him before on several occasions, either on Ganbare Pro or All Japan. But it was Ishii with a somewhat of a brain buster that picked up a good win against Kansaki, and I thought it was amazing. So he practically won the match. Next up, again, we have the Joshi girls taking place. The Ganjo. We have Yuri and Yuna Manaze taking on Yoshiko Hasegawa and Moika Aruhi. Now, as I mentioned before, I've seen mostly Yuna teaming up with Yuri. Now, Yuri originally came from Just Tap Out, but she has been teaching her on the learning curve. She is a bit younger. Basically, as you know, Hasegawa. She is in her mid-30s, so basically she knows what she's trying to do. But however, it's Yuri who has to be more of the learning curve by Yuna. But in this particular match, it was a face buster that put Yuna away Hasegawa to win the match. So that's how it ends. Now our next match is a hardcore tag team match. Now it's been a while since since Bad Communications, a few months. We had Arikaze and Mizuki Watase. Now they have challenged for a hardcore match before. It was with Akane Fujita of Prominence, with her tag team partner, the one guy she can't stand, Shuna Katsumata. Was a good thing she does not have that guy in her side. She has a strong someone who's been familiarized with the independents, especially with Ganbare and DDT. I'm talking about, of course, Shigehiro Iri. He was her partner. So this was a bit more different, unlike what we had with Shuna Katsumata, because as you know, Katsumata and Akane Fujita don't get along great. So I think that probably might have been the right choice, because these guys have been at each other's faces too many times. But I have to say it was a pretty good match. But I have to say Arukaze, she doesn't have much experience in hardcore matches, but she puts up the effort regardless of anything. But it was Shigehiro that applied a Death Valley driver on top of chairs onto Watase to pick up the win. I thought it was a crazy match, but it was good. I enjoyed that a lot. Now our next match, we have 6-man tag team match. We got Shinjiro Tominaga, Jun Masaoka, and Soma Takao taking on Koiki Iwazaki, Shuji Ishiro Katsumata, and of course Ken Oka. I thought the match was pretty good, but it was in this match a pretty amazing submission by Katsumata onto Tominaga. I thought it was a real good one. I liked it. Now our big main event, we have the Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Championship, Hartley Jackson versus Yumehito Inamari. Now keep in mind, Jackson requested challenge. He filled himself as the next challenger. I have to say, Inamari was put to the test. He tried everything to put down this gigantic beast down, but unfortunately, it did not do any well. He ended up in a pile driver, a spiked pile driver by Jackson, and Inamari lost the title. However, the next challenger that he wanted, I don't know if he would accept it, but I'm hopefully he did, is Yuna Manaze. Now, I cannot recall if Jackson's ever faced a woman before, so I'm not sure if the rule applies that that the Ganbare, this title should be, a woman should be obtaining it. That's the thing. It still don't know. I don't know the rules completely about that, but hopefully, if anybody, even if the English channel can tell me that, I'll find out. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to be following on Twitter on this part, so I think right now we should move on with Stardom. Day 12 of Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix. So as you know, we're only less than a month away from finishing this whole thing. So we're going to see how far, who is still in the lead, who most likely can catch up. But well, let's start with our first match in the Red Star block. We have Saki Kashima taking on Momo Kohgo. Now keep in mind, Momo is the only one who hasn't won a singles match since the start of the tournament. But one thing, it was strange, is that she asked for a portrait of Saki Kashima that she had right there with her. But Kashima gave it to her, and of course, she decided, you know, she's going to let her pin her. But I knew for a fact she was going to play a trick on her, but it did not go exactly like that. But it was, of course, Momo who picked up a very miracle win for the first time ever in this 5-star. She picked up 2 points by applying the Mahastra. So right now, she only has 1 win. So it's a good thing for her, but I doubt she's going to catch up, because right now she's probably out by the tournament by the time we get to the end of it. But as for Kashima, I believe right now she only has 6 points with 3 wins and 5 losses. So I'm not sure how if she is out or not, but we'll see when we get there. Now, the Blue Star block, we have the two Sayas involved, Saya Ida, Saya Kamitani. Power and strength versus high flying and agility, and I have to say this is a very good combination, but however it was Saya Kamitani with the 450 splash that sealed the deal for Saya Kamitani. Now for Saya Kamitani, she has right now 12 points, basically only two losses with 6 wins. So right now she is not that far behind from Azuki, so she could most likely go all the way. Now keep in mind, Julia has 10 points. She was the one who most likely could catch up, but we'll see when we get to in the upcoming events. But as for Saya Ida, I believe she only has 1 win so far, so that's pretty much it. Now we have an interesting 3-way tag team match. First team, we have Oedo Tai with Ruka and Starlight Kid versus Cosmic Angels, Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama versus DDM and with Mai Sakurai and Julia. Now, you know for a fact this is a moment where, of course, Waka wants to have her first win, but I always believe that, you know, she should have her first win against the one person that betrayed her, and that is, of course, Mai Sakurai. But of course, Mai Sakurai beat her by applying the Shining Buster, giving her the win. But one way or the other, I have that feeling that Waka will pick up her first win, but my guess is going to be with Mai Sakurai, and she's not going to like that too bit. Now, back to the Blue Star block, we have, of course, Ami Suri versus Azuki. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because, if you guys know, these two ladies know each other. They have faced each other in the tag team, but I like to say this could be a poetic justice for Ami Suri because she was unable to beat Azuki in the tag team action. But I have to say, this was a match where we all questioned, will Azuki bounce back after her first loss? Well, obviously it did not well because strength and power with Ami Suri helped her win when she applied like a thunderbolt, giving her her win. This is the second loss that Azuki has. So right now, Azuki is still good for now. She only has 2 losses with 7 wins. So she's good for now at the moment. But as for Ami Suri, she's only has 10 points with 5 wins and 3 losses. So she is currently tied with Julia. Now, our next match in the Blue Star, we have Momo Watanabe versus Mirai. This is another one of those tech to strengths. However, Momo Watanabe tried to disable the arm of Mirai, but Mirai did not give up no matter what Momo Watanabe tried to do. But she pulled off the most amazing strength against her. But she finished her off with a big lariat. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Now, as for the point system, I believe Mirai has okay, she has only 8 points at the moment, so she has 4 wins and 3 losses. As for Momo Watanabe, 6 points with 3 wins and 5 losses. So we don't know if she'll ever catch up, but we'll see when we get to the end. Now, our next match, we're back to the Red Star block. We have, of course, Maika versus Tam Nakano. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because Maika, she's a very strong and powerful individual, but Tam Nakano is a very interesting character. As you know, she likes to throw in her feelings, but it took a lot of her power to win the match. No matter what Maika tried to pull, it did not work until finally Tam Nakano pulled off this violet screwdriver twice in order to win the match. So she gets this 2 points. So at this point, Tam Nakano only has 4 wins and 2 losses with 8 points. As for Maika, I believe she only has 5 wins and 3 losses with 10 points. So she's good for now. She's right now at the top of tied up with Himeka, and I forgot who else. Now back to the Blue Star, we have Mayu Iwatani taking on Natsupoi. I have to say Natsupoi, who's the most smaller person than Mayu Iwatani, I have to say she did not give up either. She also had that same mentality as Tam Nakano, and of course she did not give up no matter what Mayu tried to pull. But it was, of course, the Mahistral that also helped her win the match to beat Mayu Iwatani. She is one of the few people that was able to defeat her. I mean, you have any idea for many wrestlers who have always felt like they want to beat Mayu, and they did. And that's an amazing moment for her. So right now, I believe Natsupoi, has 8 points with 4 wins and 4 losses. As for Mayutani, she's also in the same kind of point system with her. Now, our last match is back in the Red Star. We have Himeka and versus Sudi. Now, these two ladies know each other pretty well. Recently, Himeka Sudi offered her to become her challenger for the red belt, but she lost. But this time, it's more like, can Himeka revenge that match? Obvious question. Sudi is a very strong individual. Himeka is a very powerful individual, so that kind of sits in. But Sudi applied her MMA skills into the test in order to put away Himeka with that move that Desperado does, like the dos move. And of course, Himeka gave up, and I believe right now Sudi has at this point, let's see where did I put her name? She has 8 points with 4 wins and 4 losses. So right now she cannot afford to lose any more matches here on out. As for Himeka, she's still at 10 points, but she only has 5 wins and 4 losses. So the obvious question is, can she hold on, maintain her status where she's at? Because she's currently tied with Maika and Azumi. So these 3 ladies are currently tied. So the obvious question is, what can change all the way from here on out before October 1st? So we'll have to wait and see for the upcoming weekend, and we'll go from there. And don't forget, on September 11th, we will have 2 title matches. The artist belts will be on the line. Odatai will be facing Stars. And of course, we got the newly crowned goddesses of tag team titles. Of course, Tampoi taking on Godzai Mirai and Ami Sudi. So we will see the test between Tampoi. Can they retain the titles against them? But will this be the third strike for Godzai? Well, we just got to wait and see. But right now, let's move on with Impact Wrestling. Okay, Impact Wrestling, as you know, we're building up to Victory Road and Bound for Glory. Opening match was the Bullet Club, Ace Austin and Chris Bay taking on Aussie Open's Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. Now, Aussie Open are established in themselves, legitimized to be themselves in Impact, because right now their biggest target is the Impact World Tag Team titles. Now, I don't know how Honor No More will feel about this, but if I was a betting man, that match will take place possibly either in Bound for Glory, because I wouldn't be surprised if United Empire invades Impact Wrestling. That is something that could happen. But the match was pretty good. I didn't assume that Ace Austin and Chris Bay would able to hold their own, especially when they're dealing 2 big dudes. However, it was the Ali on Chris Bay that allowed for Aussie Open to win the match. Now, as you know, Honor No More are very much happy knowing they got what they wanted, the tag team titles. But Kenny, once again, Kenny King has been complaining and bitching about how he does not have the X Division title, believing that he got screwed by this conspiracy theory that he believes. Now, let me refresh everybody's memory of what happened. What happened is, of course, the referee was knocked down, and then another second referee showed up. Now, that second referee did not see what happened. Apparently, Maria got involved and made sure that his hands were not touching rope, but touching hers in order to win the match. But the first ref saw that. Basically, he made the right call. But of course, Kenny did not take that too kindly, believing that there was no logic into it. The match was won. But however, he demanded to D'Amore, saying that he wants his rematch and get that title. But however, D'Amore was talking to Mia Yim in that match. He was facing again, so he was impatient. So he wants his X Division title that he thinks it's rightfully his. However, since we all know next week we have Mike Bailey versus Máscara Dorada, so we will see that soon enough. So he will be facing against Yuya Uemura a little later. Now, the Good Brothers, as you know, they are willing to admit that they lost. But, of course, the fight between them is not even over. But, however, it appears they got another obstacle in their wake. And that is, of course, the Motor City Machine Guns showed up. Looks like they're trying to rekindle the little rivalry or so or whatever. But we could see that take place soon enough. Now, Mickie James, as you know, she came back to be more like this is her final rodeo. She challenged against Rachel Rose. I thought the match was okay, but of course she finished her off with the DDT. So hopefully this will be just beginner's luck for only like easier matches for her. But we'll see where they're going to go with that. Now, a lot of questions have been answered about Macklin and Moose. Now, people are saying, are they in cahoots with each other? Macklin's saying that right now they need to stand with each other, knowing they have to deal with Sammy. But Moose is not interested in that. Basically, he wants to do things his way. So basically, he's not going to tolerate it. Now, our next match, we have Kenny King versus Yuya Uemura of the LA Dojo. Now, this match was pretty good. I thought it was real awesome. But however, Kenny King was about to win the match when he was about to use the ropes. But however, Mia Yim showed up because Kenny King disrespected her. So basically, he had that coming, knowing you do not disrespect Mia Yim. And if I was Keith Lee, I would definitely show up and kick his ass. That's what I would do. But yeah. So basically, Yuya Uemura won thanks to Mia Yim's help. So basically, I wouldn't be surprised if Kenny King tries to do something stupid and demands the conspiracy, this thing to be reversed. But of course, it's not going to do any good. Now, Sami Callihan, as you know, he is a bit crazy. He sends a direct message to both Moose and Macklin. Now, we know that he is not too keen on everything that's been happening with him, but he wants to end it once and for all, and hopefully we get to see that. Now, in recent moments, we have seen, as you know, Joe Doran, he's out of Impact for a time being due to he's handling his health. That only leaves Eric Young and Diener. Now, Diener followed him into some cabin. It appears, looks more like they gained new followers. So basically, that's gonna tells us a different story, that maybe Violent by Design are now becoming stronger than they ever were before. Next up, we got Chelsea Green along with Deonna Purrazzo taking on Taya Valkyrie. Once again, Jessica got involved and, of course, costing Taya Valkyrie the match. So basically, they're gonna have a hard time trying to get in touch with each other. Now, as you know, recently what we saw, Jordynne Grace explained her actions about the photograph where she, in fact, put a death warrant onto Masha the same way she did to her. So she's saying she is good, but however, the one thing that's intimidating is those death threats that she does with the photograph. So basically, she said that, but apparently, Masha did that on her own and made a much bigger death threat to, to Jordynne Grace. But Jordynne Grace did say she's not going to underestimate her anyway. So we'll see how that goes. Now, we don't know what's going on with Vincent and PCO, but as you know, Vincent's the only one who can control him or try to calm him down. But sooner or later, the monster will be out of his mind, but we just don't know when. So, now our next match is the Impact Digital Media title. Now keep in mind, Brian Myers has been ducking Bluepinder Gurja. He thinks that title doesn't deserve it. But once again, Brian Myers tried to use it against him. But however, Bluepinder actually whacked him on the head, and Myers retained the title, but Gurja took off with it. However, the Moore had enough of this crap between them, so he decided that he's going to put, in 2 weeks' time, there's going to be a ladder match to determine who will be the next digital media champion. Now, our next segment, we see Tasha Steelz talking with Savannah Evans. As you know, she was in a bad shape after losing to Killer Kelly. However, Gil Kim went to talk to her, telling her that, that Killer Kelly has a match, and she asked her to be on commentary. Tasha Steelz was saying, why? She said that she likes people watching her, and I think that kind of freaked her out. Like, what the hell is this? So I think Tasha's like questioning, what did I got myself into? I think if Tasha Steelz was smart enough, she should know, yes, you may not like this new person, but you entered her world. So I think that's kind of telling us that she's not freaking out about it. Now our main event is Eddie Edwards taking on Heath. As you know, Heath has been a thorn of the Honor No More for far too long. Matt Tate and Mike Bennett tried to help, but of course referee did not see it. He gave him a low blow, and then of course the Boston Tea Party. However, during his promo, during the post-match promo, he called out Josh Alexander. He demanded answers. He wants him to join Honor No More because he wants him to say, "Hey man, look, Impact Wrestling don't care about you. They're evil," and that's what he thinks. But Josh Alexander, he mentioned it before, he's not going to play that game. He doesn't believe them. He tried to fight it on his own. Even he comes out to help, even Rich Swann, but however, the numbers games. But Eddie Edwards is convinced that he will regain this title, and he says that once they get enough gold, they're going to change the business forever, getting rid of the corruptors. That's what they believe. But we'll see what happens then. So I think that's pretty much it with the Impact Wrestling. I believe it's time for news updates. Okay, news updates for everyone. What's been going on in the world of pro wrestling? New Japan has announced for an interesting big tour that's going to take place starting on November 21st. That will end all the way to December 14th, and that tour is, of course, the Super Junior Tag League and World Tag League. So we're going to have both tag leagues for the Junior Heavyweight Division and Heavyweight Division be on the same tour. Now, there is one thing that's still on my mind. I've been thinking about this. Is FTR going to participate in this tour since they are the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions? Now, if you guys remember back in 2018, the Bucks never participated in it, and the reason behind that was because they were, in fact, couldn't do it because of the timing with they want to be with their families. But I'm not sure about this. I mean, I would love to tweet this to Dax Hardwood because I follow him on Twitter, and I was going to ask him if he planned on participating or wait who's going to win or going to be. That's the thing. But I do know that there's going to be a lot of tag teams involved in this, so we'll see what happens then. Now, this is a bit of surprise for all you AEW fans out there. You may have wondered about the situation that took place after All Out. Well, apparently for AEW Dynamite, the viewership got up to 1.035 million views. I'm like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, the rate got into 0.38. I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Now, some of you probably would have said this would have been bad, but think about it. Right now, because of the situation, I know Tony Khan is trying to bounce back, trying to fix the problem that happened this past Sunday. And I have to say, he did a pretty good job, regardless of what people would say. So there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I mentioned this before on previous updates where the Garden State Pro Wrestling has decided to start a tournament for tag team for the Garden State Open Weight Tag Team titles. Apparently, the Hex are going to be involved. That's right, former NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, the Hex, Marty Bell, and Allison Kay will be participating in this tournament. So this is going to be very interesting. Now, on the last episode where I featured the news updates, I mentioned about the Stardom Showcase Volume 2 about several matches. Well, another familiar match is coming back, and that match is the Anywhere Fall Rules match. If you guys remember, this is where they had Azumi, Koguma, Momo Watanabe, and Tam do fall counts anywhere in the whole thing. Well, apparently this time you're going to have Azumi back in this particular match, but this time she has Ram Kaicho, who she invited after a New Blood 4 to participate. And now it appears that we have Mayu Iwatani and Maika who are going to be participating. So this is going to be a very interesting development of the match. I can't wait to see how this goes down, and I would love to see what Meerkat has to say about this one, because it's going to be fun. And we'll just wait and see. So I think that's pretty much it. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we will do AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. Now, there's still some wrestling I haven't seen yet. Probably will decide what I'm going to do. There's still some GCW events I haven't seen, Circle 6, Garden State Pro, and all that. So we'll find out what's going to happen. So I'm going to wing it for everyone since I did the same thing on this one in particular. But one thing I did want it was to do Impact and Stardom. When I saw that, I was like, I had to put that one. Stardom, no, it was no brainer for me. So we'll see what happens in the next episode, but stand by for that. And if you guys have been to know, I actually put new content on my podcast. It's DWZ Podcast with J Rod. You can find me on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple, Breaker, and a few other places if you can find me. So yes, so check that out. But for right now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.